Coming up on Zoom in Africa today is a story from Nigerian environmentalists and recyclers on how they are battling a rising tide of e-waste in the country. We take you to Kenya, where a recycling initiative offers cash for electronic waste. And finally, we'll be looking at the plastic bricks, which are providing a temporary solution for South Africa's litter.
Millennium TV. Millennium TV. We mean business.
Nigerian environmentalists and recyclers are battling a rising tide of electronic waste, some of which contains toxic materials. The country generates hundreds of thousands of tons of electronic waste annually, the bulk of which is imported as used electronics. The amount of growing, driven by a rapid population growth and a higher turnover of appliances than in wealthier countries. Several shipping containers arrive in Nigeria every day, most filled with non-tested, second-hand electronic appliances that are often dead on arrival. Most of these appliances are discarded fridges, desktop monitors, CD players, or air conditioners, shipped in from Europe, with no guarantees for both the importers and buyers ever using them. Yet they continue to bring them in. It is a rainy day in Lagos, and Chikwadri Michael has just offloaded a container full of such electronic appliances. His warehouse is full of ready buyers and scavengers who will either buy these off him or take them away to numerous appliances that are obviously not ever going to be used.
From the exchange rates, and the exchange is too high. Most of the goods we bring, we cannot even sell them, and most of them are waste. So it's excess loose this time around.
A report published in June of 2020 by the UN's Global E-Waste Monitor, Global E-Waste, has surged up by 21% in just 5 years, with a record 53.6 million metric tons of electronic waste generated worldwide in 2019. The new report also predicts global e-waste will reach 74 million metric tons by 2030, almost a doubling of e-waste in just 16 years. This makes e-waste the world's fastest-growing domestic waste stream, fueled mainly by higher consumption rates of electronic and electric equipment, short life cycles, and few options for repair. Some recyclers and environmentalists are now pushing against these imports and enlightening the masses and scavengers on the toxicity levels and impacts of properly disposing of these appliances. Ifeanyi Ochonogo is the founder of eTerra Technologies, an e-waste recycling, refurbishing, and data destruction service provider in Nigeria. Founded in 2013 with personal funds and some angel investors, Ochonogo says he decided to deal with the country's e-waste crisis using eco-friendly processes after a trip to Computer Village, Africa's largest ICT accessory market in Lagos, which he says helped him understand the health risks e-waste poses.
From the start of this country, we haven't had really any answer for the electronic waste that we produce. Talk less of the electronic waste that gets dumped on us from outside, because we are importers of electronic goods. We're supposed to be refurbishable, but the majority of them turned out to be dead, turned out to be e-waste that needs to be sent back abroad to be refined.
Traders also often cut open these items, mostly looking out for gold and copper parts, oblivious of the fact that the mercury, lead found in e-waste could harm their health. A 2018 United Nations-backed analysis of 60,000 metric tons of used electrical equipment imported into Nigeria, most of it from Europe, found that at least a quarter of this was not functioning, much of it refrigerators and air conditioners. Ochonogo collects bulk e-waste from companies and parastatals and helps them sort it out for recycling. He is now working on sensitizing traders and recyclers on the dangers of e-waste.
We enlighten them to the damage that's being caused by improper handling of electronic waste and, for example, the burning of cables at day and night, etc. They know exactly what happens to their bodies when they do that, so they are encouraged to do things the right way, which is eco-friendly.
Desmond Majekumni is an environmentalist based in Lagos.
We're putting the profit above the people. We're putting gain above the common good. And it's not acceptable. There has to be fundamental changes. Hopefully this whole COVID issue will help us to become aware that, nature is a force that must be harmonized, that must even be cared for.
Ochonogo's factory has a capacity to handle 10 tons of e-waste a month, a far cry from what the country generates. The bustling streets of Nairobi's Kibera slum are not often considered avenues of wealth creation. Kibera is Africa's biggest informal settlement with a population of almost 1 million people, many living on less than minimum wage. But 36-year-old Leonard Ngatia has found that income can come from some unlikely sources. Ngatia collects discarded electronic material from repair shops around the slum. On a good day, a hefty collection of scrap pieces from old computers and other electronic devices can earn him up to $45.
Badala ya hizi e-waste kutupatupa nini sisi tunazikamia and then tunawaachia ile kitu tunawaachia na sisi tunapata ile kitu tunapata. So far so good, si mbaya, iko sawa. Na ile ndio unapata kwa siku. Okay, si lazima upate, lakini ukipata sio unajipanga nayo. Unanunua kile unafaa kununua, kama ni nyumba unalipa. Siwezi complain yani.
The weight of electronic goods discarded every year worldwide has been on the rise, with most of the growth in developing nations, according to Solving the E-Waste Problem Initiative. Some waste from rich countries end up in developing nations where many people work in hazardous conditions for low wages, dismantling it. The generation of electronic waste, or e-waste, in emerging countries like Russia and South Africa is also on the rise, following rapid economic growth. But waste can be valuable if recycled. One study estimated that 1 million cell phones can yield 24 kgs of gold, 250 kgs of silver, 9 kgs of palladium, and more than 9 tons of copper. But toxins are emitted when it is improperly burnt by scavengers looking for these valuable components. An initiative in Kenya is linking waste collections to recyclers and exporters and helping the poor make money from waste. Kenya generates thousands of tons of electronic waste every year. The value of that waste, combined with the lack of sustainable e-waste recycling in East Africa, has so far gone largely untapped. HP East Africa Managing Director Charles Correa says,
"We need to educate the population that this so-called electronic waste is actually a resource. It becomes a resource when it is recycled in the correct way. So I won't call it a challenge, but I'll say the task ahead of us is to educate the population that recycling creates wealth and the waste is itself a resource."
The East African Complaint Recycling Company operates Kenya's first sustainable e-waste recycling facility. It receives the end-of-life IT from business and public sector customers, as well as from the informal sector, collectors like Ngatia, and assesses the waste for refurbishment or recycling. The company also offers advice on handling e-waste containing toxic materials. The company has set up shipping container collection points throughout Kenya that serve as independent small businesses purchasing e-waste from trained individual collectors. Once a container is filled, its e-waste contents are resold to the main hub where the e-waste is processed and sold back to the technology industry. Each stage of the process is designed to be profitable, for participants, from individual collectors to collection points to the hub.
We've had some support from some corporates, including HP, to put collection points in different locations and to work with, we've got the Soweto Youth Group in Kabira, and some other youth and women's groups who are able to establish their own businesses and employ, equip and train collectors to collect the material.
In addition to protecting the environment, the model aims to create thousands of green jobs at the hub and in collection networks, partly by converting existing informal sector e-waste pickers into trained and legitimately compensated e-waste collectors.
This is the first model of its kind, not just Africa, but anywhere in the world. This model is about connecting the collector to the global market for the materials and providing them with a fair and transparent price, in actual fact, to ensure that they get the maximum value from the waste. It's hoped that this model can be replicated elsewhere in Africa and beyond.
E-waste grows globally by 40 million metric tons a year. They may look like just plastic bottles stuffed with paper, but to Matt Baker and his colleagues, these are building bricks that are sorting at a warehouse in Cape Town, South Africa. Baker is the co-founder of the South African NGO WasteEd, which was founded in 2012 to help find solutions for the world's waste management problems. Apart from their education and consulting activities, WasteEd has pioneered the use of eco-brick in South Africa. Eco-bricks are plastic bottles of varying sizes that are crammed into non-recycled material, making the bottles sturdy enough to be used in some forms of construction. They were first used in Guatemala about 30 years ago. WasteEd is working with Peter McIntosh, the founder of Natural Building Collective, to research the reactions of eco-bricks under different climate conditions and using various types of plaster. They also test for fire retardance, insulation, and other key factors.
We're doing two types of testing. We're doing the upright and the laid flat in cob, but the plasters we're doing are similar. We're going to do a lime plaster, an earth plaster, a cement plaster, and a hemp plaster.
The South African State of Waste report stated that of the 42 million tons of waste generated in the country, only about 4.9 million tons is recycled. The country's Department of Environmental Affairs reported in recent past that 98 million tons of waste is deposited across Africa's 826 landfill sites every year.
So making eco-bricks as a temporary solution is very important to see it as a temporary solution so that we really can focus on the bigger problems, the source problem, not just, the problem that there's waste around us and that it's not very nice to look at, but rather dealing with the root of it, that producing these types of non-recyclables isn't right, and that we need to be looking at either alternative products, packaging, or alternative systems where these products are being supported and either recycled or reused.
There's a lot that can still go in yours.
Mostert and Baker have also reached out to schools to get children involved in making and using eco-bricks. The walls of several structures in the Early Childhood Development Center in the Delft Township of the outskirts of Cape Town were built using eco-bricks and glass bottles.
It's very colorful, and that the children learn all different kinds of colors of the eco-bricks, and we first used to throw it away into bins, but now I can see what you can all out of the eco-block, the bottles and all the papers. You can buy all kinds of stuff with.
WasteEd say they now have over 20,000 eco-brick collection points in Cape Town.
And the children fill it up also, and it helps them to develop them to know that we can use scrap actually and do something out of scrap.
We now take a break. When we come back, more from Zoom in Africa.
Mafingerings tikaleta kukuti kule ifike pa 500 gram or 450 gram even pa 400 flat gram mshia kule mngapeleke pa market.
When we are at school, we learn a lot of things. Let's say, for example, for the diseases which are there in the poultry. So for someone like me who has gone to school, it's easy for me to know if at all there are any diseases in the poultry.
I'm here at my shop. HB1. I'm advertising my business.
Vitu vyote vikali viko hapa, vinapatikana hapa. Kiba Fashion. Ukija Komesa ulizia Kiba Fashion unampata Komesa.
Bintu batu muno nvochipa maningi. Mosayope atia just because Komesa even the shop itself is not all that whereby somebody can be scared. No, bintu vya affordable muno. Mwima dresses, mwima sketi, paima minimo, paima longu, paima dresses, paima jumpsuits, paima babies the other side.
We are found in Komesa Market, opposite Komesa Police Post. This is Kiba Fashions Wear. Come through, come on.
You are watching Millennium TV. We mean business.
Millennium TV. Millennium TV. We mean business.
Welcome back to Zoom in Africa. Many African nations are looking for ways to generate power in more efficient manner. Let's find out how Morocco, being the largest energy importer in North Africa, is making concerted efforts to reduce its reliance on imported fossil fuels.
At the Tarfaya wind farm in the southern Atlantic coast of Morocco, turbines are at work and power is on the grid. The project that was launched in 2013 spreads over 22,000 acres with 131 wind turbines.
It is the largest wind farm in Morocco and in Africa with a 301 megawatts capacity. On its own, it makes 15% of Morocco's objective to reach 2,000 megawatts by 2020. It has 131 turbines of 2.3 megawatts each and 2 substations for medium and high voltages.
Morocco has significant renewable energy potential, mainly from wind and the sun. Currently, the country has 787 megawatts of installed wind generation capacity. The energy sector is in a plan to produce over 4,000 megawatts of power from wind and solar in the next 20 years to tackle its increasing demand.
Today, renewable energies, mainly solar, wind and hydroelectric energies, are part of our energy portfolio because they allow to reduce the energy dependence of our country on the international level.
The African nation is one of the few countries in the Middle East and North Africa region, or MENA, with virtually no hydrocarbon reserves. It is one of the largest energy importers in the area, with some of the highest annual energy bills. Several wind farms have been built over the last few years, but the potential remains largely untapped. High production costs were previously to blame, but the situation is changing and some wind farms, such as Tarfaya, have a high yield which makes wind energy more competitive.
We have all the dynamics started by the official statute that allows investors to build their own wind farms and sell high voltage electricity to their clients.
At its completion, the Tarfaya wind farm will generate enough carbon-free electricity for 1.5 million homes. Currently, the facility has over 50 employees. The country is also cashing in big on its investments on solar energy. They have also launched one of the world's largest solar energy projects, costing an estimated $9 billion. The project aims to create 2,000 megawatts of solar generation capacity by the year 2020. Even with its power strains, the nation is one of the best on power distribution in the continent. A 2010-2014 World Bank report shows over 90% of Morocco's 33 million people as having access to electricity. But Morocco is not the only country investing in renewable energy. Its neighbor, Tunisia, has already implemented part of its renewable power generation. In their 2009 to 2014 plan, the country was supposed to generate 550 megawatts by 2014, with over 100 megawatts supposed to come from solar and the rest from wind. The North African region is targeting Europe as part of their energy market once the production surpasses the region's needs.
Concerning cooperation between North African countries and the European market, it is aimed at creating a power grid to enable the export of renewable energy, and especially solar energy, to a large market, the European market, which has a great demand for renewable energy.
In East Africa, Ethiopia and Kenya are also positioning themselves for massive power generation. Ethiopia is already generating power, which is being distributed to some of its rural population who had no access to power before.
Before, we didn't have electricity in our village at all. Now some houses have got it, and the rest have completed registration and are waiting for their turn. We are being told that we will get electricity for all in a short time.
Just recently, the Kenyan government launched a massive wind power project in Marsabit County in the north of Kenya. The project has a capacity to generate 310 megawatts of electricity from 365 turbines spreading across 40,000 acres of land. With calls from the world over to switch from harmful energy sources, a number of African nations seem prepared to lead from the front.
Recently, Kenya Airways reported major losses. While the Pride of Africa is struggling to stay in the skies, its rival Ethiopian Airlines is soaring. Some are wondering what is their secret and what is the future for all of Africa's high flyers. Well, that's all we had for you on Zoom in Africa for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and keep watching Millennium TV.